Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Salim and welcome to the mini markets live breakdown analysis. Just want to make sure quickly everyone can hear me first before we go ahead and start breaking down the analysis. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is we will be breaking down the chart on a daily time frame, but just before we start breaking down the daily for tomorrow, it would be good to see what the weekly candle's looking like so far. So now going back to the weekly, and the first thing we can see is the weekly candle is bullish, slightly broken above the previous weekly high, but hasn't really formed a bottom wick. Now, earlier in the week, actually at the beginning of the week, Asian session on Sunday, I've mentioned how this was some sort of a rejection to the upside on a weekly candle close last week, and the way we did identify that rejection is based on how the daily candle closed on Friday and the daily resistance formed on Thursday last week as well. And that's actually really interesting because the weekly, so far we have two daily candles forming. We have the Monday daily candle closing bullish within this daily range, and then we also seeing how it goes, and then also we just a quick reply on this one. Will you start doing live analysis from now on, or just seeing how it goes? Yeah, to be honest, these live breakdown analyses, they're happening 3 days a week, so they are consistent. They're always going to be here, so that's not a problem at all. But yeah, so what we can see so far is we've had the Monday daily candle closing bullish, but within this daily range. So we have this daily range between 184.630 and 185.820, and then the daily candle for Tuesday respected this daily candle, the bottom of the daily candle. Obviously the daily candle for Monday closed bullish, forming daily support, and then the Tuesday respected this daily low, and it seems like it's trading or pushing above the previous daily resistance formed on Thursday last week. Now this is really interesting. Now the big question is, I mean, based on a daily time frame, it looks like we're having a confirmation for price to continue bullish, knowing if price closed bullish above this daily resistance. The only thing that I'm actually hesitating here is seeing this daily range forming on the left. And so I'm still, like, despite having the daily candle forming bullish, when you drop down to the 4-hour time frame, what do we see? The first thing we can see, as soon as the 4-hour, we literally have only this 4-hour candle closing strong bullish, but then the 4-hour candle that has been forming above this range was small bullish candle. Now it looks like price is going to start ranging within this level. Now, to be honest, I'm still looking for potential sells, and the only way I could look for that continuation to the upside, knowing that the weekly is in our favor at the moment, knowing that the weekly is bullish, bearing in mind you still have to pay attention to how the weekly hasn't formed the bottom wick. The only thing that we have to pay attention to is this daily range on the left. Welcome Tony, welcome to the live stream. Yes, so I mean, personally what would be good is for me to change that bias and think, okay, so this previous weekly high is becoming a wick fill for this weekly candle to continue bullish to retest this weekly resistance. What I would like to see is to see a 4-hour ranging within this level, and then a confirmation based on a low time frame, like let's say the hourly closing bullish, breaking above a recent 1-hour resistance, and then obviously ideally is to see that happening during the high volume time. But the other thing I'm anticipating here is maybe price will start to retrace. Maybe price will form a resistance on the 4-hour time frame, form a new range, form a resistance, respect the previous weekly high, respect this daily resistance, and then starts to retrace, and maybe this only just a weekly candle forming a top wick before breaking below to continue bearish. Now this is just an anticipation, and to be honest we haven't really got any confirmation for that so far, because obviously the weekly is bullish. But the only way I'm anticipating this is, and the way I'm seeing these confirmations is, first of all I want to see how price would react once price break above, let's say 186,300, and once price reaches this range on a daily time frame. So that is something to keep an eye on. And just because of the daily breaking above this daily resistance, just because of the daily closing bullish, it doesn't mean that is a strong confirmation. Yes, it is a confirmation, but you need to see what the following daily candle does, because you never know. You might have a daily candle closing bullish above this daily resistance, but then the following candle doesn't break above the high, form a range on the 4-hour time frame, form a resistance, and then start to retrace and form a daily resistance once again within this level. Just like how we've seen this here, for example, a daily resistance has been formed. This daily was extremely bullish, especially the look of the daily candle. It looked like price was just literally going to be continuing bullish, but what do we see? This, despite the daily candle closing strong bullish, this daily candle failed to retest this high, retraced from the resistance, and price retraced them back into this range. So we might see something similar. And what would be good is if the weekly candle formed the bottom wick first and then breaking above the high, that would have been a better confirmation for that continuation to the upside. Now this is something that I'm just visualizing based on having 2 daily candles forming already. And the other thing is as well, those daily candles haven't really had much of a volume, because these daily candles have been ranging within this 4-hour range. So we still need a good confirmation, I would say. So now, so far, obviously, let's have a look on the monthly. The monthly candle's still extremely bullish, really interesting. And now to start breaking down the chart. So let's have a look. So just remove this again. So what I like to do as usual is I like to mark the previous daily high, or the daily high for that daily candle, and the daily low, just so we know what we are looking for. And then dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and what do we see? We have the most recent 4-hour support formed around 185,200. We haven't got any recent resistance on the 4-hour time frame, because obviously this 4-hour candle is still open. But in that case, what we can do is still align with, or let's say have the daily high as a guide to adjust your no trade zone, for example, or something that we're anticipating to have or class as a no trade range. So dropping down to the hourly time frame, and actually before going back to the hourly time frame, we have this previous 4-hour resistance. So now what I'm going to do is, despite having this 4-hour support, and I know for a fact this is going to be a big no trade zone, we have something on the left here that we can align with. So what I'm going to do is adjust this line, based on this previous 4-hour resistance. Now the anticipation here based on the fallout time frame is if price break and close below, or let's say if price form a range here, break and close below this range on the fallout time frame, knowing a price will be breaking back within this range, there is a higher probability for price to tap into this 4-hour support, and then from there we can continue bearish. But that's just based on the fallout time frame, and that would become a fake out within this range. But let's have a look on the hourly time frame. Now looking at the hourly time frame, and what we can see is we have this recent 1-hour low, and this is really not a good guide. I wouldn't say this is a good guide, but this is something that we can start to look at on different time frames. Now looking on the 30-minute time frame, and we still keep in that level on the previous daily high around 186, 190. The most recent 30-minute support is around 185, 600. Drop it down to the 50-minute time frame, that's the same level of support as well. So now to identify the no trade zone, and then the first thing we can see, like where is the safest level to look for potential buys. In my opinion, that would be on the break of the previous daily high, or like the break of the Tuesday daily high to then continue bullish. That's not only breaking above the Tuesday daily high, but also breaking above the previous weekly high, and breaking the weekly high, breaking its own high as well. So there is a good probability for price to continue bullish. Again, as mentioned, this level here is a concern, but we can discuss that later on. So I would say potential buys could be above 186, excuse me, 190 or 200, just to make it even. And potential sells, now this is where we can adjust these levels. Now we have identified this previous 4-hour resistance, we have identified this hourly low, and that's a really tight one looking at the 30-minute time frame. Then we have identified this 30-minute support, which is also the 15-minute support around 185, 590, sorry. So in that case, what we can do is, I would say it's safe to look for sells below 185, 590, knowing that price will have enough range to consolidate during the Asian session prior to the London session. Obviously that's when we are expecting to have decent volume, and this is a perfect range to allow that price to do that. And the idea behind looking for sells below 185, 590, not only based on the 30-minute and the 15-minute support, but also based on the idea of knowing that if price break and close on the hourly time frame, preferably on the 4-hour time frame, let's say that actually not really necessarily the 4-hour time frame, preferably on the hourly time frame, if we have a candle closing below 185, 590, doesn't mean only breaking and closing below the 30-minute and the 15-minute support, but that also means price will be going back below this strong 4-hour range. So this is a previous 4-hour resistance. Price struggled to break above this level, and then eventually as price broke above this level, price struggled to continue bullish. Now if price is not going bullish, there is only one way we're going to go, is obviously going bearish. Now that's the confirmation we're looking for, but as let's say the confirmation based on the hourly or the 30-minute time frame, that would allow the 4-hour to form a resistance, and once that resistance is formed, then this would become a fake out. And the way I would describe it, like for example, let's say it would be candle closing like this. I need to get something to start to draw here, because it would be much easier to explain these things. But yeah, so excuse me, so let's say this is the 4-hour candle and the 4-hour closing bearish, so that would become a fake out to the upside on the 4-hour time frame, knowing that price didn't continue bullish, knowing that we have a messy range on the daily time frame on the left, and knowing that also the weekly candle hasn't formed the bottom wick. So now what we are anticipating here is, based on different time frames, we are anticipating to say, okay, so that's where the weekly candles forming high before breaking the low to continue bearish. Now that's the whole idea of this no trade zone. So now to look for potential buys to start with. Now going back to the weekly actually, and the weekly, what we can see on the left is we have the most recent weekly resistance formed around 188.230. Going back to the monthly, actually, we have a monthly resistance around 186 or 187. Dropping down to the weekly time frame. Now, what we need to do is look at the daily, because the weekly is all the way up to 188.260, and that's not really far, but we need to see what's going on within the daily time frame. Now, dropping down to the daily time frame, and this is something that I am actually keeping an eye on, because if we've had a decent volume, if price was breaking above the almost breaking above the previous weekly high, why didn't price continue bullish, especially during high volume time? And the first thing I can see is we have this messy range on the daily time frame, and we have these daily candles. We have 3 daily candles closing small body candles. We have 1, 2, 3 daily candles forming a rejection to the upside. More likely this is where price ranged on the lower time frame. Now what we're going to do, again, we have a let's say we can target, so let's say we put a line toward this previous daily support just to be on the safe side, because obviously at market open we can see how the Friday daily candle closed at this level, and then the Sunday opened all the way down around 186, and that's a gap down of like let's say 53 pip range. I mean, obviously that's a decent range, but that range was never filled, so this is something it's worth keeping an eye on. Now dropping down to the 4-hour time frame and looking on the left, and what do we see? We have this strong previous 4-hour support, and this range you can see on the 4-hour time frame. This is where the 3 daily candles that we've identified have been ranging. Now we have a solid target, but let's have a look on the hourly time frame and see what that would look like. Okay, so yes, we have this previous 4-hour support. We have this strong 4-hour candle closing bearish, managing to break out of this range, and then obviously eventually price broke down and continued bearish. And then dropping down to the hourly time frame, let's have a look. We have this hourly resistance. I would say the first target for buys could potentially be 186.670, targeting this previous 4-hour support. And now to look for second target for buys. Now going back to the daily again, and you can clearly see how our targets were just within these daily ranges, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on how price would react once tapping into these levels. So now again, let's have a look on the weekly. Nothing really to see based on the daily time frame. And again, the reason why we're looking for small targets, obviously that's roughly, let's say, 46 pip range. The reason for that is because of how price have been ranging recently. And then now to look for the second target for buys. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to put a line to where the daily resistance formed at this level, even though that's a really small range, but we can scale it from there. Okay, so we have 186.930 as a daily resistance. Drop it down to the 4-hour time frame and looking on the left, and we see what we can see here is we have this previous 4-hour support around 186.930. Above this level, I mean within this level, this is a really messy range, but then we have this nice target on the 4-hour time frame, 4-hour resistance. Still want to see something valid. I mean, that for me personally, this is a really valid target for second target for the 4 buys. But let's have a look on the hourly time frame. So actually, now going back on the other side, I think I just messed that up. Just a moment. Okay, so I just like to remove this for now. I guess we're just gonna have to do this again. I really apologize about this. Okay, so So we had potential sells at this level, potential buys at this level. That's an area as a no trade zone. Yeah, so our first target was at this previous 4-hour support around 186, 690, 630, 670, same thing. And then the second target, so we have put a line around this daily resistance that was formed around 186, 930. And then when dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, let's have a look. We have this previous 4-hour support dropping down to the hourly time frame, and what we can see here is we have nothing really to see on the hourly apart from clean traffic on the left up until where we have a support formed around 187, 140, 150. But what I would say is, obviously, to play it safe, and because of how the range is being here on the left, I would say the second target for buys could potentially be 186, 930. But if there was a decent volume, we could have, let's say, if you started to notice a really good volume in the market, and you know for a fact the way the candles are printing, let's say your most recent 30-minute candles printing really nice bullish candles, let's say a candle printing 40 pip range, like a 40 pip range candle, maybe you can expand on your target. Maybe you could allow your second target to tap into this decent 4-hour resistance around 187, 350. But yeah, so now to look for potential sells. And now going back to the daily, and what we can see on the daily here is obviously the daily candles closing bullish. The daily more likely will be closing above the daily resistance formed on Thursday last week. Looking at the weekly is bullish, dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see here is we have the most recent 4-hour support around 185, 220, dropping down to the hourly time frame, and this looks really messy. This is a really messy range on the hourly. I mean, when I see price forming like this on the hourly time frame, I do not pay attention to those time frames. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, that's the same thing. It really is messy. In that case, what we're going to do is we're going to stick to the high time frame, because even though we're looking at the high time frame, those like the 4-hour support, it's still a small range. So we could have the first target for sells around 185 to 20, targeting this 4-hour support, a recent 4-hour support. The second target for sells, now we have this daily support formed on Monday around 184, 820, dropping down to the 4-hour time frame. We have this 4-hour support. I still think it would be good to target the daily support and not the 4-hour support, and I will explain why. So when you drop down to the hourly time frame, price range within this level, and then even consolidated even further on the 30-minute time frame, small body candles. So for that reason, our second target for sells could be 184, 820, targeting this daily support. So if you do have any questions regarding GJ's analysis, just let us know now before we move into gold, just so so when we go into gold, we can focus more on gold as well. Do we have any questions regarding GJ's analysis just before we go ahead? So obviously the idea is potential buys above 186, 170, potential sells below 185, 600. Let's see if we have any questions. So we have Claudio. He said, I'm in buys in GJ from the break of the previous 4-hour resistance, waiting to tap the previous high. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, like you do have. Okay, so you probably are in profit for now, but what you want to do is you want to pay attention to how price would form during the Asian session, and pay attention to how price would retrace, because if you're looking to hold these buys, price shouldn't be trading back below this 4-hour range. You know, price should respect this 4-hour resistance to continue bullish. I would say, I would really, you know, like I would pay attention to how, like, don't get sucked into thinking that price would continue bullish. Yes, you do have the monthly in your favor, you have the weekly in your favor, you have the daily in your favor, but then pay attention to how the 4-hour time frame is forming. But yeah. Oh, so many thanks, Salim. We have hi Sin. Hey Abraham, nice to have you on the live stream. Thank you for coming. Many thanks, Salim. Please, you forgot to review the last no trade zone, but it's fine. Yes, so you know, if I did review the last no trade zone, that would have been the analysis I did on Monday yesterday, but that wasn't on the live stream. So even if I kept the one on a Sunday, you've already had 2 daily candles, so that wouldn't really work in a way, I would say. Again, if you want me to, I'd say it would work best for when the Friday daily candle closes, because then obviously that's the market closing, and then we can review it on Sunday. But from when I put lines on Sunday preparing for Monday, then you have Monday daily candles already playing out, and you have Tuesday already playing out, so you have 2 daily candles, so you have 6 sessions altogether. See, I wouldn't say it would be as consistent, you know, but again, if you want me to keep those no trade zones just so we can review them, then that's completely fine. Nimat, I'm happy to do that for you, no problem. Yes, 40 pips in profit. Yes, I'm waiting for the respect of the support. Yes, you want to manage your risk, you know, because like if like don't think that price would dip so far and it'll retrace. You know, if price is gonna go back into this range and you're gonna go into a negative, you might want to just close your trade and wait for another confirmation, because there's always gonna, if price was gonna continue bullish and yet say there was a huge retracement on a daily or within the daily candle, you know, price shouldn't you know, retrace a lot. But if it did, there will always be a confirmation for you to re-enter the market to continue bullish. Yeah, that's actually what Abraham said makes sense. You know, worst case it will retest the 4-hour range. That's actually, you know, something that could happen. Yeah, that's something could happen, you know, retesting that 4-hour support and to continue bullish. But it depends on if he's wanting to hold the losses, depending on where he actually entered as well, you know, so it all depends on how he's happy to hold his risk. Yeah, okay, many thanks. You're welcome. You're most welcome. You're welcome anytime, Nimat. Always happy to have you on a live stream. Thank you, Salim. You're welcome. But yeah, just pay attention to it, you know. Previous range, that is. Oh, do you mean Abraham? Do you mean, are you talking about this 4-hour support, or are you talking about this one? If you can just put what level it is, I can review it. That's not a problem at all. Before we start breaking down gold. Okay, so, but yeah, to be honest, like, I'm personally, obviously, what the candles are doing is different now. But what's putting me off of that continuation to the upside is the way the weekly retraced. Why would if price was going to continue bullish, why would this weekly candle retrace all the way? And then why would price form daily resistance and retrace as well? So obviously, I like, it's just how I sometimes view the charts. 185 420. Let's have a look. So 185 420. 185 420. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think you're looking on the left here. Yeah, that actually makes sense. Yep. And that retracement could happen as far as these 4-hour support if the bullish momentum, or if that, you know, current bullish market structure meant to be respected. But yeah, so now to start looking for gold. Okay, so now looking at gold, and so far obviously what we're gonna do is looking at the weekly as well. The weekly candle is still respecting the previous weekly high. The weekly is retracing, and so far is heavily bearish. Now when dropping down to the let's actually looking on a monthly. The monthly, now it's forming a nice body monthly bearish. Looking at the daily time frame, and what we can see on the daily is the daily candle for Monday, as mentioned. So obviously I think some people were looking to have that continuation to the upside, and I've mentioned how those two rejections happened in the same day of the week. That happened on Friday, the 5th of January. This one happened on Friday recently, the 12th of January. The same level of rejection, and as we can see, the daily candle for Monday hasn't really done anything, but the Tuesday came with a lot of volume, and it seems like price is printing bearish, retesting some sort of a daily support printed previously. Now what we can see on a weekly, which is really interesting, and we've mentioned how the weekly resistance, this weekly candle retested this weekly resistance. This weekly candle closed weak bullish, and I also mentioned how on the analysis posted for Thursday, obviously anticipating for Friday and how the weekly candle closes, I mentioned how we could potentially see another retest of the 2050 area before the continuation to the downside, and it looks like so far the whole idea of that retest is playing out, because price respected the previous weekly high, respected this weekly resistance, and the daily candle is extremely bearish. So now to start breaking down the chart, and obviously we have the current daily low, the current daily high, dropping down to the 4-hour time frame. What we can see on the left, we have this most recent 4-hour support formed around 2023. The most recent 4-hour resistance is around 2041 300. And then when dropping down to the hourly time frame, now what we can see, which obviously that's a big range on the 4-hour time frame, but when dropping down to the hourly time frame, and what we can see here is we have this recent, very recent hourly range. And I mean, so let's just simplify this. Okay, so we have this hourly support around 2024 800. We have this hourly resistance around 2029 300, and this is a tight range, and there's no way you could have this as a no trade zone. No way. Reason for that is, yes, that looks decent on the hourly time frame, but do you think that is enough range to allow the new daily candle to form range before showing you any sign whether we're going to continue bearish or price will respect this daily support to retrace? I mean, in my opinion, that's really enough range at all. So we need to see a reasonable target. So now going back to the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see on the left here is we have this previous 4-hour support around 2024. We have the current 4-hour high, but then on the left what I can see is we have this 4-hour low where the 4-hour formed a huge rejection to the downside. Now I like to pay attention to the wick sometimes, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this to 2031 300. Drop it down to the hourly time frame and looking on the left, and what can I see? Again, this is a really small range, so I'm going to pay attention to what's going on the left slightly. And what I can see is we have this messy, small, body hourly candles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust it to 2023-400. Now what we can see so far is if price break and close below this hourly low, below this previous low 1 hour support, low volume, what do we see on the left? We have this clean hourly candle. So there is a higher probability for price to swiftly continue bearish. So now the no trade zone starting to make sense, but we still need to see on different time frames. Now dropping down to the 30-minute time frame, and what we can see on the left, again, we have this previous 30-minute support. Let's see on the recent price action actually. Looking on the 50-minute time frame, and what we can see, we have this low. I mean, what I would do is class this as a no trade zone. In my opinion, that's actually decent, just below 100 pip range, roughly about 78 to 80 pip range. So this is gonna be the no trade zone. And now to look for potential buys. Now, a quick reminder that the weekly is heavily bearish so far. The monthly is bearish. The daily is bearish. Daily is approaching a daily support. So what is the probability for price to retrace and flip bullish? I mean, in my opinion, I think we're still going to see that continuation to the downside as long as the new daily candle form a top wick, form some sort of a range on the 30-minute or the hourly time frame, form a resistance, and then start to break below the recent hourly support and continue bearish, which means breaking below the Tuesday daily low to continue bearish. Now, the reason why we always look for potential buys and potential sells is so in case if there was a change in, like, let's say just within that daily candle, we might see, shift in volume, or we might see, price going from bullish on the daily time frame to going on bearish. That doesn't mean it's changing the trend, but maybe a support is about to be formed or a resistance. So what we like to anticipate now, even though the daily is bearish, we're still going to look for buys, and the way we're going to break these buys is to anticipate where the new daily candle forms a top wick. So for example, the way I visualize things is, okay, so for example, if this daily candle is closing strong bearish, meaning a daily resistance formed around 2054, meaning that price rejecting a strong key psychological level, which is obviously 2050, where would the new daily candle retrace to? The first thing I can see is we have these wicks on the left. We have these rejections. So the daily candle could form a top wick, retrace. Once price tap into this area where the daily candles rejected previously, we might see another rejection. But now what I'm going to do is drop down to the 4-hour time frame. And now what we can see on the 4-hour time frame, we have this previous 4-hour support. Now again, the whole idea now to look for buys is we're not really looking for big targets, but what we're doing is we're looking to where the new daily candle can retrace to form that top wick before the continuation to the downside. Now let's have a look on the left. So despite having this previous 4-hour support, we still have to pay attention to this previous 4-hour resistance on the left, where price consolidated previously and formed multiple rejections to the upside. As we can see, we have 1, 2, 3 4-hour candles rejecting the upside. So what we're going to do is adjust it to this 4-hour resistance around 2036-400, drop it down to the hourly time frame, and now something's starting to line up now. So can you see we went from this previous 4-hour support to previous 4-hour resistance, and now this is lining up with this previous 1-hour support. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, what do we see? This is where price ranged previously. So now what we could say, maybe the daily could retrace to retest this previous hourly range. Let's have a look on the 15-minute time frame. Now we have a 15-minute resistance. So you can see how everything starts to line up. You have a 15-minute resistance. So this is your first target for buys. You have a 15-minute resistance. You have a previous 30-minute support, or the top of the let's say a support where price consolidated previously, and now that lining up as well with this recent previous 1 hour support, also lining up with this previous 4 hour resistance where price rejected the upside previously. I really hope this makes sense. So our target would be 20.37.100 as the first target for buys. The second target for buys, now let's have a look on where this daily candle could retrace. Now in my opinion, looking at the weekly, the possibility of the weekly, so if the weekly meant to stay bearish, then we shouldn't see the weekly flipping bullish. So the first thing we're going to do is put a line to where the weekly candle started. Now dropping down to the daily time frame, and what we can see on the left is we have this previous daily range where price consolidated and closed within this tight range around 20.43.700. Now dropping down to the 4 hour time frame and looking on the left, and what do we see? We have this 4 hour resistance, and again this is a really tight range, but let's see if we can identify a decent target. Now again, this remains a decent one for 1 hour resistance, 30-minute resistance, 15-minute resistance. Now here's where like you really have to ignore the fact that you are looking for a tight range. Even though this is an hourly resistance, I wouldn't feel, you know, embarrassed on having a really small target, because this target for me makes sense. You know, why would I have my target at this rejection where I know a resistance has been formed within 20.41.300? It wouldn't make sense to ignore these signs where price giving you a sign to keep an eye on these levels. For example, we formed the resistance. Yes, although like price might tap into, let's say, this previous 4 hour support, or we have, let's say, for example, we have this daily range, but you still have to pay attention to what's going on before that level. So we do have, let's say, the second target for buys at 20.42.300. But if there was a decent volume in the market, we can anticipate, knowing that this is a weak 4 hour confirmation, we can anticipate for that continuation to the upside to tap this previous 4 hour support around 20.47.300. So it all depends, really, like it all depends on the volume. So this is how we are painting a picture for how the new daily candle can form a top wick before that continuation to the downside. Now, if let's say there was a huge retracement, and that retracement happened during the New York session, which that's already giving you a direction where price could be going, you might see price starting to retrace around the, let's say, the London close. But that would mean the daily will be closing weak bullish. Now that's an even better confirmation. Despite the daily candle closing bearish here on Tuesday, despite the daily candle like forming that top wick and closing weak bullish, that means that daily candle formed the rejection to the upside. So now once price break below this low, your probability of having a decent sell, you know, target, let's say, you know, let's say the probability for price to continue bearish really increases, I would say. I'm just gonna answer a couple of questions before going ahead for sells. Greetings all, can you help show our appreciation to Salim with one love? I really appreciate that, Alexandria, thank you so much. Yeah, so we have Salim possibly it can retest the start back with the bearish trend. Like, what can you give a little bit more information on this, Tony? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Look at GJ. Yeah, I mean, even if GJ starts to break out of this range, it's just low volume, and if price broke above this level, if I don't really see a good confirmation, I'm not really looking at it, because we've seen that multiple times where price start to range within this level and it starts to retrace and form a range. So it's worth the wait, I would say. So we have, what do you think about the bullish channel in daily? I'll be honest with you, I I don't use any, like, I don't use any, I literally just use lines, and I use the naked eye. Like, I look at how the monthly candles are forming. I pay attention to the body of the candles. I pay attention to the rejection, because just looking at the, just breaking it down from the daily perspective, for example, looking at different time frames, that's already an indication. I don't really look at any type of indicators. I just pay attention to rejections. For example, I pay attention to how this rejection formed on the daily here. I pay attention to how this daily rejected that level, which is obviously rejecting this daily resistance. Multiple rejections to the upside. That's the things that I look at. I watched the news today. That's why I did buy, and now it's skyrocketing. Let's go. Let's have a look. Yeah. So anyways, now to look for potential sells. I have deposit that I made more than a week ago, and it has not been reflected in my account yet, and it's now for more than a week. Can someone share the experience if this has happened to you before, and if you can recommend to me how much? Okay, so just a quick question, Lopez, have you emailed support? Just make sure you've emailed support. It depends on what kind of deposit that you've made. If it's crypto, it can take up to 24 hours. Just make sure you're using the correct network. If it's through, credit card or a bank card or whatever, it can take 3 to 5 working days. As mentioned on our website, obviously we have frequently asked questions guide on that. So I hope that can help. But if it's been more than 5, or let's say 5 working days, then please email support and just mention it as urgent, and we will be able to look into that. Otherwise, just send a message on Instagram, and I'll look into that for you. I have an access to Instagram account, so I'll have a look for that. It's not a problem at all. We do apologize for any inconvenience caused. Happened to me too. I opened an ECN account and the money reflected instantly. Yeah, like honestly, it all, like, sometimes people don't really choose a correct network. Sometimes, for example, if the minimum deposit is $50, on crypto, sometimes people deposit $40. That's not within the minimum, so therefore it can get lost. We always can resolve these issues, but it's not the easy procedure, obviously, so the long wick scares me to the left on gold. I caught the downtrend during London and was done for the day. Yeah, if you took sells, that's really good, Tony. If you took sells on gold and around the London session, that was actually really good. So he said the long wick scares me to the left on gold. Are you talking on the daily, or you mean on a weekly? I think you mean on a weekly, but if it's a weekly, yes, it's something to pay attention to. But if this is scaring you, then what I would say is, if this, okay, this is a good point actually. Okay, so if this is scaring you, then the next thing when I look at how the body of the candle, of that weekly candle forming rejection, how does it look like? Weak body bullish candle. Now, doesn't that honestly, to me, that really doesn't scare me. Obviously, I would pay attention to it. I would look at how the daily looks, but it wouldn't scare me, because this weekly candle tapped into this weekly resistance, respected it, retraced from that weekly resistance, and closed weak bullish, giving us a weak confirmation and giving us no confirmation to the continuation to the upside. This rejection, however, it's something questionable, when you drop down to the daily time frame, you could have some sort of a confirmation for that, to why the daily did that. Obviously, you can chat in the website. Yes, you can do live chat in there, and someone will be able to assist you. But yeah, in my broker, daily has closed far different from the chart. In this, is this affect the analysis? Not really. I wouldn't say it would affect the analysis, as long as you're waiting for a strong confirmation, I wouldn't really say it does affect it. Although it is annoying sometimes, because the daily candles closing at different times and they print differently, like they would look differently. But yeah, other than that, I wouldn't really worry about that. So now to look for potential sells, and zooming in again, and let's have a look. So now since the weekly candles trending bearish, now the first thing we can see on the left here is we have the previous weekly low. Now this is where the weekly formed a rejection to the downside. Now zooming in, and what we can see, we have daily support formed around 2016-200, and then that's where the daily also rejected. That's interesting actually. Let's have a look on the 4-hour time frame. We're just going to quickly carry on with the breakdown analysis, and then we will carry on with the live chart. We have the daily support around 2016-200. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, we have this rejection formed on the 4-hour time frame. And then when dropping down to the hourly time frame, now we have this hourly support. Now that's where it can be a little bit messy, I would say. Let's have a look. 30-minute time frame on the left, what do we see? We have this 30-minute support, and to have this as the first target for sells, that's a big range. That's like 100 pip range. So I wouldn't really look at that for now. Maybe what I would do is pay attention to the high time frame where a daily support has been formed. So I would say the first target for buys, for sells, could potentially be the daily support formed around 2017-400, which was formed on the 18th of December 2023. And the second target for sells, now this is something I've paid attention to, and I put a line to where the weekly rejection formed last week, which is around 2013-300. But let's see if we can adjust this a little bit better. So looking at the daily time frame, and what we can see here is, so see, this could be a target, but this is a really small one. So if price will break below the previous weekly low, there could be a continuation to the downside, meaning obviously that's a strong confirmation for price to continue bearish. Maybe what we could do is target this previous daily resistance area around 2009-300, let's say 2010. Let's have a look on the 4-hour time frame. Looking on the left, now we have this strong 4-hour support, and this is also where the support, the 4-hour time frame ranged previously. And then looking on the hourly time frame, let's have a look again. Nothing really to see apart from clean traffic. And when I look at this, like this to me becomes a noise, and this is what I want to pay attention to. And maybe this could be filled within this weekly candle, but we just really need a decent volume, because that is a nice piece to trade, because yes, you do have some noise on the left, but this is where price tightly consolidated on the hourly time frame, and you have this strong hourly candle closing bullish. So that's a really good candle to trade. So this is something that you want to pay attention to, especially if someone wants to like swing trading. That could be the opportunity to do that. Even on a 4-hour time frame looks good as well. So if you do have any questions regarding gold's analysis, then just let us know and we will be able to discuss that further. Just going back recently, let's have a look before we go into the chart again. Have a look on the hourly. So let's have a look. So we have GBPJPY 186-200. Since GJ is breaking out of our no trade zone, should we wait for the close of this hourly? What can I say? The big question is, do you want to execute a trade during the Asian session? If you feel comfortable taking it, then that's completely fine. This is not something that I really do. I don't really look to trade, especially GJ. I don't really look to trade GJ during the Asian session, because there hasn't been, I would say, within a space of, let's say, 3 months, maybe I've witnessed good opportunities, maybe like 4 times. You know, it's not really worth the risk. Now it all depends on how this hourly candle will print. Now you'll either miss the whole move, or you'll just, you know, okay, so here's the thing. Okay, let's break it down. Okay, so we've had this as the potential target for buys at 186, 170, and now price breaking above this area. Now price breaking above this area when the daily has only just opened. Now the big question is, has this daily candle formed the bottom wick? The daily candle hasn't formed the bottom wick. The 4-hour only just opened. The hourly only just opened. So it hasn't, so that confirmation hasn't really gone, like, we didn't really get a good confirmation, I would say, you know, because the hourly closed just within this range, and now the hourly candle is breaking above the high. There could be a probability for price to continue bullish, but the question is, do you want to take an impulse entry and then start to manage your risk? Where would you put your stop loss? Yes, you could put your stop loss in here, anticipating for the hourly candle to continue bullish. But what is the probability for price to continue bullish? That's the issue I have. You know, like the Asian session, I really don't pay attention to taking, you know, trades on GJ. Now the other thing that could happen, Nimat, is you might see, you know, GJ breaking above and starts to retrace. And you know what will be interesting? You know, when the 15 minutes about to close, it would be interesting to see how that 15 minute closes, whether it starts to retrace. If that 15-minute candle starts to retrace and form some sort of a rejection to the upside, that's I'd say a good sign for, you know, maybe price forming a new range or expanding the no trade zone or something. But other than that, I'm not really looking to take this as a buy. What would be good is if the hourly candle, this actually would be a really good setup, is if the hourly candle formed the bottom wick, and as it breaks above this high, this would have been the perfect opportunity to take buys. But because the hourly candle hasn't formed a top wick, a bottom wick, it makes it hard to anticipate that continuation to the upside. It makes you question yourself, like, you know, it's something that happened previously. Look at this hourly candle, hasn't formed the bottom wick, continued bullish, retraced, the following price just literally ranged. I mean, we're going to be here on the live stream within the next, let's say, 35 minutes. So let's see how the 30-minute candle closes. So makes a lot of sense. Alexandria. For scalping, do you think in gold 2040 is a good sell level for scalping? For scalping, do you think gold is a good sell level 2040? Do you mean like to wait for price to tap into 2040 to start looking for sells, or have you already thought about entering that? Or like how would you describe that? I would say if you were looking for sells for gold, maybe as the weekly candle, this is where the confirmation comes, is you have weekly resistance. Okay, so let's break it down slowly, okay? Price ranged in this level. This weekly candle broke above the high and formed a strong bullish candle. The following one continued bullish, formed a rejection to the upside, retraced and formed a resistance. Now price needed to retrace. Now we've seen that happening here. The weekly candle closed bullish, formed the weekly support. So now since the weekly support's been formed, we're looking to see a retest. Now you have bullish candle, price retesting this level but failing to close above this level. So that is the way this weekly candle closed. That's when you start to anticipate, you know, for potential sells. Now this weekly candle closed weak bullish. That's another confirmation, tells you like sells could be incoming, you know. So then a resistance has been formed and price failed to close or even break above the previous weekly high. So that's another confirmation. So sales could have been better once this weekly candle broke below this weekly low, or the weekly body low, or where the body of the weekly candle started. But as we can see, price literally just consolidated. So based on just this weekly candle here, the current weekly candle, the way I could see that is this was a confirmation for price not continuing bullish. You have a rejection to the downside. You have this weekly candle closing weak bullish, retested this weekly resistance but failed to close above this weekly resistance. So that's another confirmation. So the way I see it is, I'll wait for the new weekly candle. I'll allow the new weekly candle to form a top wick. I want that weekly candle to respect the previous weekly high, to respect this weekly resistance as well. So again, the way you see it is, once this weekly candle starts to retrace, look for a certain level. So either once it breaks its own low, or once price break below the weekly support formed here recently, and start to adjust your precise entry based on the daily. Now the entry would have been, as this daily candle broke below the Monday daily low, that would have been the perfect opportunity to have the entry and then to swing, or like swing trade basically. Now GJ is starting to retrace. Now obviously that's not a big retracement, but let's see how this 15-minute candle closes. Like I mentioned, you know, it would be interesting to see how this 15-minute candle closes, because if this 15-minute candle form, let's say, a weak bullish candle, some sort of a rejection to the upside, there could be a sign for price to form a rejection to the upside on the 30-minute time frame. Let's have a look on 15. I mean, you can see. So the last 5-minute candle hasn't broke above the high. Yeah, I see a retracement on that 15-minute. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. Any questions, feel free to, you know, ask. That's why we do the live stream, so we can interact with people, so we can answer questions in consistency on the 1 minute time frame. I mean, I might be wrong, you know, price could continue bullish, but it's just not the confirmation I want. It would have been better if this new hourly candle formed the bottom wick and then continued bullish, because once price break above this high, that's when you start to really be alert. As it breaks above this high, it's even better because it's breaking above the previous daily high and above the previous weekly high as well. Clean candles up to 186,388. Let's have a look at this 15-minute candle. So that is the 15-minute candle. 20 pip range, 20 pip move. So do we have any question regarding gold's analysis? Okay, so let's see how that 15-minute candle closed. 15-minute candle closed bullish. Yeah, I mean, that could still work, you know. You never know. It's I'm just not happy with how the hourly candle started, that's all. It just didn't really give that good confirmation, you know. Now, the one thing you want to pay attention to is, if you were looking, or if you're in a buy already, pay attention to how price would react once it taps into 186,340 area. I would say pay attention and see what price would do. Maybe it'll just push through, but this is an area where price haven't retested in a while. will it like tap into this level and then retrace, forming that rejection on a 30-minute time frame maybe? So okay, so price have actually almost tapped into 186.340. Let's see what would happen next. Tony, appreciate the time and the analysis this evening. Honestly, you're welcome anytime, Tony. Always happy to have you guys on a live stream. I like to see regular people, you know, because you get to connect with them more. You get to, you know, like, you get to see same people come into the live stream. They become like, you know, a good community, you know, because you can see how serious they are. You can see the questions they ask. You can see the way they speak. You can see the respect, which is, you know, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, and that's how we want to grow as a community, you know. Guys, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel, and if you could share the live stream, that would be really good. It allows to, you know, for us to have more people joining the live stream and to really expand our community in general, you know. So now the 15-minute candle broke above the high already. It's starting to retrace. Love from Chile, Salim. Thank you, and thank you, Claudio. That's interesting how this 15-minute candle is forming now. So you mean a breakout candle has to form a bottom wick to be sure of a confirmation? Could you kindly clear a bit? Okay, yeah, no problem at all. Yes, so what would have been better here, Nemat, is if we had, for example, let's say this is an hourly candle closing bullish. What would have been good, let's say the new hourly candle started, formed the bottom wick. As it breaks above this high, even though it's still within the no trade zone, you start to really anticipate what's going on. This hourly candle managed to close what multiple hourly candles failed to do. So this hourly candle outperformed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hourly candles. So this is showing a sign of that bullish momentum. So the way you see it is, okay, so if this hourly candle is closing bullish, the next thing that I'm paying attention to is what would price do once it break above this high. Now the way you see it, you look at it is, wait for that new hourly candle to start, allow it to retrace. You want that new hourly candle to retest a certain level. It could either be this previous 1 hour resistance around 186, it could be the hourly support, but the deeper it goes down, the better it is. Not obviously not too far, but maybe like around 185, 900. That's a nice 16-17 pip bottom wick. And then as it breaks above this high, you could either take a buy above this high, knowing that you have a confirmation based on the hourly time frame, and knowing that the confirmation, the candle has already formed the bottom wick. So if the candle formed the bottom wick and didn't continue bearish, that means candle will be breaking above the high to continue bullish. So now what you do is you pay attention to how price would react once it breaks above this hourly high. And now what you do is look at, okay, so this high is the previous 4-hour high, is a 4-hour rejection area, is the previous daily high, and the previous weekly high. So now if I'm looking for buys above this hourly high, the confirmation becomes really, really strong, because not only you're waiting for the break of the previous hourly high or the 4-hour high, but also the daily high, also the weekly high. Now, my only concern here is the daily has only just started. The daily has got 24-hour candles, and the daily hasn't formed the bottom wick. My question is, are we seeing price continuing bullish now during the Asian session to form that rejection to then retrace and form a daily resistance? This is something I'm visualizing myself, because it's something that's happened previously. For example, the way I see it is, unless if I see a really good strong confirmation for that continuation to the upside, but the way I'm visualizing, because it's happening during the Asian session, because the daily hasn't formed the bottom wick, maybe the daily is forming a high to retest this rejection area and then start to retrace and break below and start printing bearish, which means later on the day, when the daily candle close bearish, it will form a daily resistance and it forms that rejection to the upside. So that's another confirmation that you could have on the high time frame, and that's something actually we've seen previously. I'm just going to show it here. Let's have a look. I'm pretty sure I've seen, okay, yeah, that's something that we've seen here. For example, the daily candle closed bullish, and then the next one broke above the high, formed the rejection, tapped into this daily resistance, retraced and closed bearish, and then a following daily candle closed bearish as well. So we might see something similar within this daily candle. Now that would, yeah, like, I just don't like how the daily candle's printing so far. It's just, we need to see that liquidity, we need to see that bottom wick on a daily time frame, I would say. I really hope that did clarify your question. But if it's not clear, Nimat, I'm more than happy to, go into more details for that. It's good to spend time in the analysis and see the break and close happening in the stream, brother Salim. Yeah, it's good because, you know what you're doing. Like, I honestly, I don't pay attention to any indicators at all. I don't. I just look at the candles. I look at how they're printing. I look at the volume time. I don't want to confuse myself, because if the candle is a timed candle, if 1 hour candle lasts 60 minutes, that 60 minutes, it's telling me what's going on with the price. If it forms a rejection, that's telling me price doesn't like a certain level. So it's I look at naked chart, I would say. Like, I don't pay attention to any of the indicators, although they might work for some people, but for me personally, I really don't pay attention to them. Do we have any questions regarding how price is breaking above? Like, any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. And those kind of breakout, I've already seen them multiple times. Even if I missed them, I'm completely fine with that. There's always a first time. It's not about always being right, but it's also about seeing how price is behaving. So the way price is breaking above now, it's not something that we see happening all the time in the Asian session. So that could be two things. Either price is going to continue bullish, or maybe price just forming a new rejection on a daily, on let's say a rejection to the upside, to reject this area again, to retrace and then form a resistance, and then that's when price starts to print bearish. But that's just how I visualize, candles. Do we have any questions? Now, so the first 15-minute candle, that was roughly around 21 pip range, a 21 pip move up from where the 15-minute candle started. The second one, however, has only pushed about 7 pips. ranging on a 5 minutes. Some sort of like a inconsistency. What do you think with the pound to the moon? I mean, what do I think? I think with like currency pairs, they don't work like, you know, to the moon or anything. I think they work differently, you know, like it's not like crypto, you know. That is economics running the currencies, you know. It's not like, you know, how crypto works and stuff. Like with currencies, you know, it wouldn't make sense. Okay, for example, you know, you're seeing, you know, Bitcoin tapping into an all-time high at one point above 60,000 per coin. You know, personally, to me, that didn't really make sense. You know, there's no real reason behind a coin that would increase in value in such small time, you know, a short time. So with currencies, it's completely different. It wouldn't make sense for one currency to see it like going to the moon. And even if that happened, there's always currency intervention. Like we've seen that multiple times with GJ, you know. We've seen, you know, currency intervention from the Japanese yen, from the Bank of Japan, to control, you know, the valuation of the Japanese yen. And that's when we've seen some spike down on monthly time frame. Actually, let's have a look. I remember one of them was back in September 2022. Yeah, there you go, that's the one. That was a currency intervention applied by the Bank of Japan, and you can see a rejection to the downside, and that move didn't just happen randomly. So they have to manipulate the price to save the currency, to save the economy of that country. It wouldn't make sense to see just one currency going extremely bullish and just breaking above the highs, and you know. Okay, so let's have a look. So the 15-minute candle is about to close, and you can clearly see how it hasn't done anything. You know, it literally hasn't moved a single bit apart from breaking above the high, and that was what, four pip move up. When you've got a spread around 1 pip and a half, maybe now you're already in drawdown. So tanks cleared to a reasonable extent, sir. Nemat, if you really, you know, like you genuinely struggle with that one, just message me on Instagram. I'm more than happy to, you know, give you a one-to-one Zoom call, like 15 minutes or so. Like, I don't mind. Where we can interact, both of us, and then, you know, I can explain it really, really well, you know, to a certain pace. That's not a problem at all. If you've got me on Instagram, just give me a message. I'll sort something out. I'll have like a 15-minute Zoom call, and I'll explain that. That's not a problem at all. So we have, I'm referring to the past impulse from the new year, too hard impulse, and waiting for the third. So we have DJ sell or buy. So that's a good question, Abdul Rahim. So, plus, what would be the scenario if this breakout happened during the London session? this would have been a really good opportunity. Like if this scenario happened during the London session, whether it's a pre-London, let's say an hour before London Open, or just at the London Open or after London Open, that would have been a perfect opportunity to have, you know, buys to continue bullish, because now how that would look like is the daily has already ranged within one session, which is obviously the Asian session. Price have already formed some sort of a range on the hourly time frame. So as price is breaking out of the range, now price is doing what the Asian session didn't manage to do, which obviously break above the high. Now the confirmation for that volume, so you have, you know, you have that volume coming in during the time where the currency that you trade in is open, you know. So I would say that would have been a really perfect setup. If this setup happened during the London session, I would 100% take it. So now the 30-minute candle closed bullish. The new 30-minute candle has only been a couple of minutes and is already breaking above the high, and now it's retracing. Again, I go back to the same thing I've mentioned. The way I'm visualizing this is price tapping into this daily rejection, forming the rejection on the daily, retracing, forming a daily resistance, and then continue bearish. This is something that I'm visualizing at the moment, knowing that the daily hasn't formed the bottom. So maybe the new daily candle is forming that rejection before breaking the low to continue bearish. Now, since this is happening, and let's say this 30-minute candle closes bearish, forming a resistance, closing back into this range, this would become a fake out. And that fake out would be a rejection on the hourly time frame. Now, I mean, that would be a really, really good setup to start to influence that sell idea, I would say. But you can see like how I did not adjust my no trade zone. I've just kept it as it is. I'm still sticking with this because I want to see, even though I've already set that up, I don't want to adjust it for certain reasons, because I want to see how accurate I am with the no trade zone, and I'd review it and see how price react as well during the Asian Open. So we have another 10 minutes left on the live stream. If you do have any questions, just go ahead and fire them up. Now the 15-minute candle broke below the weak 15-minute candle closed previously. So yeah, like this is a rejection. And it's rejecting nicely. And you see how it tapped into where I put the line, which that wasn't just a random line, that was a daily rejection formed on the left. Everything has to be, you know, there for a reason. We're not just putting lines and just hoping that price would reject. Although if it doesn't respect the line, then that's something new that's printing. There's a different, you know, trend. and I could easily see that 30-minute forming a resistance. So gold is just ranging. The longer it range, the better it is, because then the London session would have a really good opportunity, knowing that the daily closed bearish. We have to pay attention to how this daily, how the new daily can react to this daily support. So ideally is we need to have gold printing bullish, forming a top wick, and then start to break below to continue bearish. So we've got around 7 minutes left on the live stream. If you do have any question. Has anyone taken a buy above this high? If anyone has taken a buy, I would suggest maybe start to look at managing your risk, because obviously that wasn't that good confirmation at all. So Ibrahim said, is it better to analyze and set the no trade zone before market open, or analyze anytime? I would highly recommend you to do that during, just after the daily candle close, you know, like I'd say a couple of hours before the Asian session open, just so you can actually fully see how the daily candle closed prior to the new one, and then you start to anticipate ahead. Because now, you know, we started the analysis when now we have, you know, the daily candle has literally just started. So we started the analysis and we planned for the full sessions basically. Take Salim had enough now to sleep, got to catch some pips during London. Yeah, Abraham, thank you for joining the live stream. Have a good night, and I'll see you on the next live stream, which will be on Thursday. Obviously anticipating for Friday. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, Abraham. Appreciated. So we only have now about 6 minutes until we end the live stream. Thanks, Salim. You're welcome, Ziad. You're welcome anytime. That full retracement's happening now. Going back into that range. Now, two things can happen. Either the hourly close weak bullish, extremely weak, I'm talking as far as closing below 186, 150, forming that rejection to the upside, or the second thing, you're welcome, Abraham, the second thing that could happen is the Asian session could use this range to form a new range on the during the Asian session. So this could be, you know, added as a no trade zone, but again, I'm not adjusting anything for certain reason, because obviously we've had our analysis. We want to see how accurate we can be with these. Coyote, thank you. Salim, you're welcome anytime. So we have about 4 minutes left on the live stream. Our next live stream will be on Wednesday night, UK time. That'll be 11 p.m. GMT. Obviously anticipating, no, sorry, I apologize. I meant Thursday night. Anticipating for the Friday, which obviously reviewing how the Friday daily closes, start to have an early anticipation for the following weekly candle as well. So it gives us a really good overview. So I think the way we did set these days are really, really good. You know, the start of the weekly candle, the midweek, and then end of the week as well. There's no point to do, you know, live stream on Friday Asian session, because obviously that's when the weekly candle closes. So we want to do them when the market is active. Now see how this 30-minute candle broke above this high, and now it's retracing. Interesting. Yeah, gold is completely dead at the moment. It literally is doing nothing but forming this range. Would be good to see, you know, this range to be expanded within the candles. Obviously, that's a really tight range, 45 pip range, where the daily has formed 308 pip range. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna check first with the chat if anyone has a question before I end the live stream. So Nima said, so if the 1 hour closes into the no trade zone, then it can retrace further. Yeah, I mean, it could retrace further, but what's happening here is going back into the no trade zone that we've had, you know, set up already. So there's two scenarios that could be happening here. Either price would retrace all the way and start to range within the no trade zone that we've identified, or where this rejection is happening, maybe this could be included as a no trade zone as well, as the obviously we had the 30-minute resistance open here, we have 15-minute resistance formed in here, so price could potentially start to range either within this level or form a rejection on the hourly and go back into this range instead. So go into like a different channel in a different word, if that makes it easier. But what I would do, like maybe that there are some people that have seen the break above happening already, and what I would say is see how many times price does that. Like I can guarantee you it doesn't really happen as often, and when it does, I'm not like, it doesn't alert me at all, because I know it's forming rejection. I'm paying attention to how the candlesticks are forming. I'm paying attention, and this is why I mentioned despite having the weekly candle being extremely bullish, having the monthly candle being bullish, pay attention to the previous weekly candle, what it has done. Could this be the weekly candle forming the top wick. And then what we did mention earlier on the live stream is we mentioned how we need to pay attention to this area where price consolidated previously and where candles printed side by side on the daily time frame. So all of this, it does influence your idea whether you think a buy is a valid idea or not. So GJ is the same as gold in better timing to trade. Our Dan is different. Yeah, like, sometimes you see some good moves on gold that actually do happen. And I've noticed, let's say we've had rates, for example, on Wednesdays when we have, like, every 6 weeks there is a bank rate, interest rates review, the FOMC speech. And I've noticed whenever price, tap into, for example, let's say during the news, price break above this area and then retraces, tapping into this, let's say that was a 4-hour resistance, for example, there is a higher probability for price to retest this area during the Asian session. So whatever didn't happen during the New York session could be happening in the Asian session. So you get passed to into the Asian session, I would say. But with GJ, I don't really see that happening a lot. Many thanks, Salim. You're welcome anytime, Nemat. Nemat, can you see how price now is retracing? Now let's have a look on that 15-minute candle. 15-minute candle closed bearish. Price is trading within the 186, below 186, 140. Below, tapping into this previous broken high. Trust me, the more of this move you see, the more confidence you're gonna get in the chart and Nemat. You start to really anticipate. I've anticipated many moves, and honestly, I get amazed sometimes to like how accurate I can be. But that's a good practice for myself. Like I genuinely enjoy doing these analyses. Honestly, I do enjoy doing them. It's like an art, It's like an obsession. Looking at this particular pair, looking at how it forms, understanding how it behaves, looking at when it's ranging. It's almost like having a baby. When a baby's crying, you start to question, why is the baby crying? The baby can't talk. Are they tired? Are they hungry? Nappy need changing, for example. So you really start slowly questioning. So the baby's crying differently. Maybe that's a hunger cry. Or baby start crying differently. Maybe it's uncomfortable, or maybe he's overtired. So you really start to do the same thing with the pair, But yeah, all like full retracement on this hourly candle, which makes perfect sense. And look at this daily candle. I'll be looking forward to review this daily candle on Thursday's analysis. Really will be looking forward. Trading and analysis just goes in your blood, in our blood. Yeah. It's a good practice, But yeah, guys, I think we're coming into the end of the live stream. I think we're like 5 minutes over, but that's fine because obviously we've had more things to talk about. So I just want to say thank you everyone for joining the live stream. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate you, participating in the chat and having the live stream more active as well. I think we did break a new high on more viewers today. I think we started before with 10, 15, and the highest we've had so far is 30 people watching our live stream, which is something that I'm really happy with, knowing that we've only just started, and joining the live stream is not like joining, watching a movie or anything. It's something that's boring for some people, so it's a big thing. But yeah, so I would like to thank everyone who joined the live stream. I will see you all on Thursday around 11 p.m. UK time, which that's like 5 a.m. Eastern time. And obviously we will be having the analysis to review how the weekly candle so far played out, and to anticipate the move for the Friday and how the weekly candle closes, and some early anticipation for the following weekly candle as well. So again, thank you everyone, and have a good night. Thank you.